When you're setting up an experiment, it's important to plan out how you're going to take your measurements, where you're going to do it, how much space you're going to need, how far away you'll need to be to capture your data, what angle you're going to be observing from, etc., etc. It's always a good idea to think through the whole process before you start anything. For example, if you don't think about how you're going to be taking your measurements, you might make the mistake of making your car go too fast to take measurements with the equipment you have, or maybe it will go too far to fit the whole trip into your available observation space. These are the kinds of things you have to think about. I did a couple of practice runs so I could tell how far things were likely to go. Here you can see I put down a tape measure next to the path my car will hopefully take, and also I put down an iPad as a stopwatch. I found that I had trouble reading the tape measure, so I put down some blue tape markers every 20 centimeters to help me take my position measurements a little bit more precisely. I didn't want to steer anybody's creative process, so I'll only show you the slowing down portion of my car's trip as an example of how you might want to capture your data. So you know, my car accelerated very quickly and over a relatively short distance of about 50 centimeters, and then it took about a little over 2 meters to come to rest, finally. I decided to record my video in slow motion mode so I could read the time in the hundredths of a second more precisely off of the iPad. And having done this, I found it was not so easy for me to move frame by frame to get my position and time readings using Windows Media Player, which is what I was using. I did find a workaround, so I was able to take readings every zero point 0.2 seconds, but you might want to do a little bit of experimenting with your phone and any other tools you're using to make sure things work properly so you can gather the data you're going to need. Once you have your car built and your observation equipment is all set up, you will just need to gather your data in an organized data table, either by hand or in a spreadsheet. Remember to take your time measurements at uniform intervals. I created a data table with my time intervals pre-made in advance of recording my data. Remember to be consistent with which part of your car you're using as a reference point. I made a mark on the car with a Sharpie so it was easy to see. And then be sure that you follow all the instructions and answer all of the questions in the ClassKick slide deck. Once you think you're done, read the instructions one more time and look over your work as though you had never seen it before, and make sure that you've done everything correctly and that it makes sense to somebody who hasn't read it before. Do your best work on this. Good luck.